Hello again and welcome back. For today's video, I'm going to show you how I make a couple of bouquets out of the stamps that I already have. This was going to originally be my Mother's Day post, but I kind of got sidetracked. However, these cards can be used for any occasion, really. It could be birthdays, sending simple greetings, and definitely, of course, for next year's Mother's Day. And as per my usual, I am using items that I already have in my stash. I'm going to use some vellum paper, some glittery, shiny paper, and these are some of the collections that I chose to go with for that background. I'm going to be using my go-to ink, Memento, which is the preferred ink when I do my alcohol ink coloring. So I'm going to begin by using this stamp here, which is a cling stamp, and I'm going to place it on the acrylic board or block, sorry, and I'm going to be stamping using the Memento ink. So I have some pre-cut sheets here, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp my image. And I'm also going to use the help of this little tool here that allows you to press evenly when you're using cling stamps. Off camera, I did the other image, and I'm going to stamp only a portion of this piece here because I want the stems and the leaf from this particular stamp set. I have my images here. I'm going to blend some distress inks and other inks as well, just to get a soft background color on each of them before I add a little bit more color with the alcohol inks. I'm just laying out the inks that I'm going to use along with the little brushes to blend them. I also have a cool tool, which is a grip mat. And what this does is I can put my paper directly on the mat and I can blend really easy without having to use any tape to secure my image down, and it won't move as I do my blending, and you'll see that as I work through it. So now that I have my mat secure, I'm just going to put my paper there. And as you can see, it doesn't move when I try to push it around. And so now I'm just going to get all my inks out in no particular order. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my brush and start blending. So now I'm going to begin to color my flowers using a similar color palette from the ink pads that I had. And I'm just going to go simple on this with making sure that there's shadows and the flowers in the back and keep the ones in the front a little bit lighter. If you'd like to see more details as to how I use these alcoholic markers, I will link some of the videos that I created previously on some mini tutorials on how to use alcohol ink markers. So as I continue to color these, just sit back and enjoy. So now that I'm done with my flowers, I'm going to do the same thing and use the same technique for my leaves and stems. Now, this particular die set actually comes with dies, and what makes it unique is that if you line it up like I'm doing my best here at the edge of the black outline, it will cut around that black outline without leaving a white edge, unlike other die cuts. And this particular die cut machine is called the Sizzix Big Shot, and it is a manual die cut machine. And I prefer these because for me, I feel like I have more control as opposed to being at the mercy of something that's electronic. And if it's not fitting correctly, I always have this fear of just the motor burning out. And I'd rather just test it this way because I can stop it and start it at my will. So as you can see here, I'm taking it out of its little casing, and I always use like a piece of painter's tape to hold the die in place. But you're going to see why these particular die cuts are so special, because look at how it cuts the edges. And yes, I did miss a couple pieces there, but those are easy fixes. And for the leaves and stems, I'm gonna cut them out by hand since I'm not using the die cut. And this one's easy, you just need a nice little sharp, precise scissor. And one of the keys to keep your cutting hand from getting fatigued is move the opposing hand around so that way you keep, like in my case, the right hand is stationary and I'm just moving the scissor itself, whereas my left hand is doing the maneuvering around the edges, and that allows me to have a little bit better control to cut towards the edge and less fatigue on my right hand. And I made a couple of bows by hand, and if you'd like to see something similar, let me know in the comments below. I did not have a particular Mother's Day stamp, but like I said, this card can be used for any occasion, and this is just a random set that I've had for a few years from Hero Arts, and I'm just gonna do a random sentiment to go with my card. Now that I have my sentiment lined up, I'm just going to stamp it a few times to see if it looks right. Edge and inner piece that I want to use, so I'm going to interchange both of them because they kind of have the similar color scheme, and I'm just going to use some washi tape to attach the back, so they'll basically be like an inlay. Now that I have my two panels laid out, I'm going to use something called Zots, which is double-sided glue dots. They're very sticky, and this is going to allow my pieces to stay stuck. And off camera, I just cut a little square to make it look like a flower wrapping. And so now I'm just going to test to see how it would look against each other because I want it to look like flowers that are in a wrapping. So manipulate the image the way I like it. I'm going to start setting it up so that I can glue it together. And I want the leaves to kind of stick over the vellum. So I'm going to cut just a little bit of pieces in there so that it can hang on the outside. So now I'll begin to arrange how I want my stems and leaves. And you'll see why I wanted that little edge cut or that slit, because I can slide it over there and it looks like it's coming over the top. I'm now going to grab my Zots, and they come in a roll. And as you unroll it, you can see the little dots there, hopefully, in the light. And those are the very sticky dots that are going to go on these pieces. So all you do is you lay your piece down, make sure you make good contact. And once you do that, you peel it off and it's actually stuck on your item. And then once that's done, you can stick it where you want. So I'm gonna just cuddle it, not cuddle, but kind of nestle it in there, press, and it should be good. And I'm just gonna do some trimming so that you can see a little bit more of the stem. I decided I want to put these on foam pieces so that way it gives a little bit of dimension to my bouquet. And it's important to note that with Zots or any kind of adhesive, when you're using vellum, it will show through, so you have to find creative ways to hide it. That's why I have the bow to cover the dot that is holding the vellum together. And here's my little flower bouquet in all its glory. And I've already added some double-sided tape on the back here using my handy dandy tool. And you can see the little strips there. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick this onto my card base. Now I'm just trying to arrange where I'd like to see my sentiment and my bouquet. I did cut out the sentiment by hand and I added some double-sided foam tape so to give it a little dimension. Once I'm settled with a pattern, I'm going to go back using my Zots, attaching it to the vellum so that I can stick this onto the card and it will give it a strong adhesion. Now that I have my glue, I'm just gonna go ahead and stick it on there as well as my sentiment. for some finishing touches, I'm going to go ahead and do some highlights in whites, little lines in black, use some sparkle, and also color in part of my sentiment. So here I'm just adding the final touches with some highlights and my pen, and this is what I came up with. A pretty little bouquet of flowers. And here are the two that I ended up creating that you saw in the beginning. And I kind of just put them in little opposite ends of each other. But I think they turned out really nice. And these can be perfect for birthdays, sympathies, thank yous, whatever you like. So I hope you enjoyed my process of making these cards. I'm going to show some still shots of them. But thank you again for joining me, and I hope to see you on the next video.